everyone, and welcome along to another episode of the Simple Knit podcast. My name is Eleanor. You can find me on Instagram as Simple Knit Co, and here on YouTube where I talk about knitting. This podcast does exactly what it says on the tin. Do you like knitting? I really like knitting, so let's talk about what we've been knitting. It's a beautiful sunny Sunday morning in Brisbane, where I'm from. It's the first weekend of July or something like that. Yes, it is. It is the first weekend of July, and it's cold but not too cold. The sun is out after some very, very grey days, so feels good. It feels good to be talking about knitting with you here today. If you're checking out the podcast for the first time, welcome along. It's lovely to meet you, and as always, hello and thank you to all my returning viewers for coming out and spending some time with me. Pour yourself a drink. I've got a coffee, some of which is in my mug and some of which is on my jeans. As soon as I switched the camera on, I spilled my coffee all over me, but it's out of frame, so I'm just going to keep going. So let's just jump right in. So the first finished object is what I'm wearing. And I think when I last spoke to you all, I just separated for the sleeves on this jumper. This is the Spellman Sweater by Dragon Horde Designs. The designer's actual name I always forget. I just remember her Instagram handle. So I will link that all around down there somewhere. And I love this jumper so much. I have worn it. We've just come out of a 4-day lockdown. I think I've worn this every day of the 4-day lockdown. I finished it just over a week ago. My friend had a costume party for her birthday, and I went as Sabrina from The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which was the inspiration for this pattern. There is some exceptional knitwear in that show. And it was really fun to have a hand knit costume and have a costume party in Brisbane winter when you can actually wear a hand knit. It was just ideal. So anyway, although I did make this, I had this jumper in my queue from since it was released, but having something to wear it to was a nice kick in the butt to actually knit it and finish it. So yes, I've actually written down everything I have to say. It has been so long since I've done this that I thought I will write it down, otherwise I won't say anything of any actual helpful value. So this is the Spellman Sweater by Dragon Horde Designs, as I already said. I knit it in the 4th size, and I used the recommended needle sizes as well. And the sample, I believe, is knit in a fingering weight and lace weight mohair held together. I did not do that. I've just knit it in a sport weight yarn. This yarn is the Bendigo Woollen Mills Classic 5-ply, which is a sport weight. And I think the color is called Chili. It's coming off a little bit more darker and saturated on camera than it is in real life. In real life, it's a little bit lighter, a little bit more of a rusty red. Actually reminds me, I think there's a MAC lipstick called Rust. Brick. It's a bit lighter than Brick. I don't know why I'm using lipstick colors. I'm not sure. There's probably 3 people that's meaningful to. It's slightly lighter than Brick by MAC. There's about 3 of you that will mean anything to, so you're welcome. But yeah, this is a really great pattern. In the pattern, the designer actually says it's a really good second jumper. So if you've made one basic jumper before, but you want to kind of skill up, try something new, try some fun details, it's a really good pattern. I think it is really good for that. And it's also just was a super, super fun knit. It has these little bobbles down the sleeve. Ugh, except some of my bobbles you can see. I have to go back and, not all of my bobbles, but this sleeve I think is better. There we go. So it has this nice little cable with these cute little bobbles. They were just a 5-row bobble. As you can see, some of mine are a bit gappy, which it is what it is. But other than that, I think I'm really happy with how this turned out. In the pattern, it recommends that you do a gem and twisted cast on for the neckband, and I think I'd tried this cast on before and I didn't really it didn't, for whatever reason, I wasn't into it, but I did it and it's great. I think it's my new favorite cast on. I've used it for other things that I've started since finishing this, I think it would be really great like for the start of socks. I think I'll use it for, because it is so stretchy. I'm a very tight knitter. All of my cast-ons and bind-offs always end up a bit too tight. And I just did a knit two together bind-off on the sleeves and the hem, and that also turned out really, really great. Really good and stretchy. So was really thrilled with how that turned out. The pattern also, as I was saying before, it's a really great pattern. It has lots of little areas where you can adapt and like add in, you can kind of make this as customized and fitted as you want. You can just knit it straight as it comes out of the pattern, but then it has all these other things you can add to kind of make the fit what you want. So I did 2 of those. It also has adaptations for making the body shorter or longer, the sleeve shorter or longer, blah, blah, blah. I did add short rows at the neck, which I would definitely recommend, because it does actually bring the start of the detailing forward a tiny little bit, which I think just sits a bit better on your shoulders. So would definitely recommend doing that. I did also add some extra stitches for at the bust, so that I didn't end up with extra gapey fabric at the back, which if you have a larger bust, you'll know in lots of knitting patterns can be annoying. So because a lot of patterns go on your bust circumference, if you have a larger bust, you have to like size up obviously for that, but then you end up with extra fabric on the back, and then yeah, you kind of end up with this like weird little fabric gape. I'm showing you and you can't see it, but you end up with this extra fabric at the back of the garment to accommodate your boobs, which are on the front of your body. So in the bust increase modification that she has in the pattern, she actually does have you add stitches on the front side and the back side. I didn't do that, I just added them on the front side, so it just means you have more fabric on the front of the garment than on the back. So I think you added those where you split for the sleeves, and yeah, I just added them. I think I did 1 on each side for like 3 times. I added 6 stitches, and then about halfway down the length of the body, so I can kind of see it actually, yeah, about here, I then decreased those 6 stitches out. And I'm really happy with how that turned out. It fits really, really nicely. The back fits nicely too. Oh, that weird twist, did that help? I don't think it helped. But yeah, I'm really stoked. Is there anything else I need to say? No, I said everything I wrote down. But yeah, highly recommend this sweater. I think it's super cute. It looks, I wore it with a skirt for my costume, but I've worn it with jeans. It's cute over dresses. It's the perfect kind of cropped, like high-waisted jeans height. So yeah, I'm wearing it with a pink t-shirt today. I don't know why I just showed you that. I feel like a toddler showing you my belly. That's very weird. But yeah, and I love this yarn. This is the, as I said, the Bendigo Woollen Mills Classic. So it's their slightly more like woolly, how do you describe it? It's not scratchy. It's just their luxury base is a lot smoother. I really like this for garments. It feels like it's going to wear really nicely. And yeah, I don't have anything else to say other than I really, really like it. And the other thing that's great about Bendigo Woollen Mills yarns is they come in these giant 200-gram balls. So I didn't weigh it, but probably like I had 2 balls. So I used probably about half of the second one, but I still had tons left over. So I've already done something with my leftovers. So that's a beautiful segue into my next, oh, so much Ross. Actually, because this is a bit sheerer, that's actually coming out more how this color actually is. These are the same yarns at different, this is the same yarn and color at a different gauge. So this is, because it's a bit sheerer, this is actually what the color looks like. Anyway, I've made this pattern before. I've talked about how much I love this pattern before. It is the Squishy Shawlette by Bronte Swamick. And I used my leftovers to make this. I still have some yarn left over. I have like this much. I have no idea how much, I just haven't weighed it. oh, that's not even this yarn. Sorry, I've got so much red yarn in this bag. I just wound a different yarn onto the ball. So that's how much I have left over. So I could probably make like a little, feels like maybe enough for like a little something. Might make my friend's kid a hat or something. But yes, Squishy Shawlette. Love this pattern. I've made two. This is my third, I think. This is the smaller size, so like the fingering weight size. This is sport weight yarn, but it still worked. It's so lovely and drapey. I just knit exactly the small size exactly as the pattern dictates. It's a great way to use a really small amount of yarn. I think it uses less than 50, the fingering weight pattern uses like less than 50 grams of fingering weight yarn. So if you have a little skein or just some leftovers that you're not sure what to do with, it also knits up super quickly. I knit this on Thursday and Friday. So, and like was knitting on other things and doing other things on those days as well. So it knits up super fast. The smaller size, I think it's on a 6mm needle. So yeah, fingering weight yarn or like a sport weight, which is what this is, on a 6mm needle. It's a really good size just to put over your shoulders, to tie around your neck. It's really cute. I love this pattern and great thing to do with your leftovers. So the only other finished object that I don't have with me, it was a gift for a friend and it is long departed. You may remember a couple of, if you've watched my podcast before, you may remember a couple of episodes ago I was lamenting I was making the Anticline mitts by Emily Green, and the yarn I was using, they were turning out too big. So and it took me a long time to find some yarn to make those mitts for my friend, because I really wanted like a rich autumnal kind of jewelry tone yarn in a fingering weight, and I was really struggling to find anything. Like I wanted a solid color. I wanted it to, yeah, quite a rich, vibrant, like jewel tone, like a red or like a gold, those kind of colors. And I was really struggling to find yarn in that color palette for my friend. And then I was just on Etsy. I just typed in like hand-dyed yarn, ships from Australia, which is what I always do, and just basically scrolled until I found something that I wanted. So I did find a new to me yarn dyer. I don't have the mittens, but I still have the leftover yarn from it. So the dyer is Owl of Athena. I have a ball band here. This skein looked beautiful when it came, but I've unwrapped it. So that's her tag. These are both her Fortuna base, which is a 100% superwash merino. It's quite high twist. This color is called Vivid Heart, and this is what I used for the Anticline mitts for my friend, which I knit the smaller size, but I went up a needle size. So I used 2.5mm needle, and they turned out really great. I used the German twisted cast on that I had done for the neck of this jumper, and that made a really great cast on edge for the mittens. They turned out really cute. I think there's a picture on my Instagram of me wearing the half finished ones. But as always with gifts, it was like a mad rush to the finish for me to get them finished for her. So I didn't get any pictures of them finished, but that's fine. But I love, love, love this yarn, and I love this color. I just showed you, this is her gingerbread colorway in the same base. As I said, the skein looked very beautiful when it arrived, and now I have dismembered and tried to put it back together, and it looks very loose. But yeah, beautiful. If you are in Australia or just looking for really beautiful, like rich jewel toned hand-dyed yarn, it actually looks like she must like put some darker pigment in, because it has that really like that depth of color even in this like lighter shade. It's just super beautiful. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this. I bought the two colors just so my friend had something to choose from, and she chose the red, which I thought she would. But yeah, I'm having, as you can tell, having a very red moment. Was never really been a red colored person, but I just can't get enough of like reds and like terracotta oranges, like my nails, my bed sheets. Like I just can't get enough of reds at the moment. But yeah, if you're looking for some beautiful local hand dyed. I think she's based in Victoria maybe, but local hand dyed yarn. Highly recommend. And it was a dream to knit with as well. Like it looks great. What more could you ask for from a yarn? So I do have a couple of projects that I'm working on at the moment, both of which are in leftover Bendigo Woollen Mills yarn. Let's go for this guy first. You've seen something very similar to this before. I'm basically making the same hat I made for my friend but for myself. It looks like a black blob. It is the Roku hat by Olga Berea-Kefalian. And I'm making the smallest size for myself. This is Bendigo Woollen Mills Luxury 8-ply in the black colour with bonus every piece of fluff in my home. That's actually, this, as I said, the luxury base is a lot softer, but it just, it attracts every single speck of dust. Has a nice little halo to it. But yeah, I'm nearly finished. I'm on the crown decreases. And I just wanted a plain black hat for myself. So I'm knitting a plain black hat for myself, and I will still have stacks of this left. So if you would also like a plain black hat, let me know. Please don't. I don't like gift knitting. As I say with like half of these things being for other people. I don't like gift knitting. But yeah, I love the Roku hat. I've knit it a bunch of times before. If you're looking for just like a 1x1 rib hat pattern, it has 3 sizes. I've used everything from DK to bulky weight yarn with different needle sizes, knitting the different hat sizes for different people. Just trying to think how many times I've knit this pattern. 6? I don't usually like to re-knit patterns too often, but if you just want a basic ribbed hat, this pattern is really fantastic. Yeah, so that is that. You've seen it before, and you've seen it in that exact yarn before, because I'm making it exactly the same as I made it for someone else. And so my last project, I just cast this on last night while watching The Jinx, the documentary series about Robert Durst, which I've never watched before, which is compelling viewing, and he has the same birthday as me, which is a little bit creepy. I started another squishy Shawlette. This is in the larger size, so I'm knitting it with Bendigo Woollen Mills, their Bloom yarn, which is like their multicolored kind of like hand spun effect yarn. This is the yarn that I used for my Shifty jumper last year, and I have like all the leftovers. As I said, this yarn comes in 200 gram balls, so I have these leftovers, and yeah, it looks really great in the Shifty, but purple's not really a color that I wear a lot. My Shifty is actually just sitting folded up next to me, that's why I'm looking down there. But yeah, it's not, especially for like accessories, not really my colors. So I decided to cast on the squishy Shawlette. This is the larger size, so I'm making it on a 8mm needle. This is a DK weight yarn, but it's I would say it's slightly like heftier. Like it's a heftier DK. And I'm really loving how the purples and blues and pinks are looking together in this shawl. This isn't for me. I'm not 100% sure who it's for. I think I know who it's for. Like, I just have a feeling that it's for my friend June, who wouldn't watch this podcast, so I can say that it's for her. Because it's not really my mum's colours. Yeah, I think it's kind of June's colours, so I think I'm going to finish this and send it off to her. But yeah, as I said, this pattern, the squishy Shawlette pattern, is just the best. I've made it because this is now the 4th one I'm making. I basically know what I have to do and don't really need to look at the pattern. Yeah, and it's great for gift knitting because it knits up so quickly. So yeah, that is my another squishy Shawlette, and that's kind of everything I've been working on. I still have socks on the needles, but even since I last spoke to you, I haven't really worked on those much. or for there to be enough of a change for me to mention them. But that's kind of everything I've been working on. I do have a couple of books that I've read or / am reading recently. Wow. Ooh, that was a great sentence. I have a couple of books that I have read and am reading, and I just want to share them because I thought they're really good. The first one I've finished is called Saving Agnes by Rachel Cusk. Rachel Cusk is an author whose books I've wanted to read for a while, solely because I really like the design of the covers. All of her books kind of have this presented similarly, and I really enjoy that aesthetically. And book design and styling, and that you can judge a book by its cover because it's made to draw in people who will probably like the book, and this is very much my aesthetic, and I really enjoyed this. So this is she's written a bunch of books. This was her first book, Saving Agnes, and it's just kind of a mid-20s coming of age story. Someone kind of, our main character, going from, I guess I would say, being defined by other people's perception of her to being defined by her own self-image, you know, from the subject to the object. Ooh, I'm not as good at talking about books as I used to be, but it was really good. It's really short, really enjoyable. It was funny. It was kind of a little bit dark sometimes, and like not the most likable character, but relatable in her unlikableness, if that makes sense. So that's a great book. And I'm currently reading another book that I solely bought because I saw it and I really liked the cover. This is Under the Net by Iris Murdoch. Now, I'd never heard of Iris Murdoch. She's kind of like a mid-20th century, I should say, Irish author, and they've recently republished all of her books in like these covers by the same artist. The artist's name is Bijou Carmen, and like it really just, the cover drew me in, so I read the blurb and it sounds like just my kind of thing, and it is just my kind of thing. If you like kind of Evelyn Waugh kind of style, it's, you know, British society, it's funny, kind of just these hopeless characters trying to get about in their lives and the nonsense they get up to. It's kind of romantic, like it's all love stories and human connection and just people being useless at living, which is very funny to me. But as you can see, it's a beautiful book. I bought it because it was beautiful and it sounded funny and a bit weird, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So that's kind of everything that I've been up to. Let me know what you've been making or reading or watching. I've also, while I was making this jumper, I watched the entire, from the second season on, of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, because I'd only watched the first season and I was really worried if I dressed up as a character, people might give me spoilers, and I hate spoilers. So I kind of really drove through the final seasons. And if you have watched the entirety of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, please slide into my DMs, because my friends who have not watched the show are sick of me talking about it. Visually stunning, but not the best writing. So as I said, let me know what you've been reading, watching, making in the comments below. Come and say hi on Instagram. Always up for a chat, and it was great to see you again. Hopefully it won't be so long between drinks next time, but I hope you're all keeping safe and healthy and well, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye guys.